Is Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, of course, a key member of the Judiciary Committee. Senator, we appreciate you being with us over the phone. Your reaction to what should happen at this point? We know that the suspect is a 27-year-old male named Akayed Ullah. Your thoughts after this attack?
Well, number one, I'm grateful no one was killed. We just sort of dodged a bullet here. My reaction is there's more of this coming, not less. People are getting radicalized on the internet. For whatever reason, he felt the need to kill himself in the name of, the caliphate, a soldier of the caliphate kind of mentality, apparently. I'd like to keep him talking. I don't want to read him his Miranda rights. I'd like to keep him talking, find out everything we can about him, treat him humanely. I don't think you need to send him to Gitmo. You don't need to try him in military commission. I'm not worried about that. I want to look at this as an intelligence gathering opportunity, not solving a crime. Perry Mason we don't know. To convict this guy.
Well, we don't know at this point if he has been given his Miranda rights. Sometimes they wait to provide those, specifically to find out if there is an imminent threat of other attacks at the time. We know in the other attack here in New York City, he waived his Miranda rights. So that didn't even come into play there either.
But you were critical, I believe, Senator, of the Trump administration.
Very critical.
After that attack here along the West Side Highway about 6 weeks ago in New York City, that truck attack that killed those 8 people. You said it was a huge mistake for the Trump administration to not to hold the suspect as an enemy combatant. Is this different in your eyes?
No, not really. We had a meeting at the White House Thursday. My concern last time was that you had this guy alive, which is hard to catch these guys alive. Even if it's a lone wolf attack, somebody who pledges allegiance to ISIL in their own mind over the internet, I want to find out everything we can about what makes them tick and how they got to where they're at. The public safety exception allows you to question somebody for a very short duration of time in terms of their other devices around. I want to hold this person as a suspected enemy combatant for a few days, let the intelligence community talk to him, gather as much intel as we can, then we'll make a decision about where to charge him and how to charge him. But the first thing I want to do is treat this as an act of terror, not a common crime. And the Obama administration criminalized the war. The Trump administration followed that same model, and I hope they will break here.
Again, this is a little bit of an unknown right now. We know from New York officials, state and city officials, they call this a terror-related event. They're treating it as a terror event. We simply do not know, legally speaking, how the suspect is being treated right now. He is he is being treated medically, we should note, at Bellevue Hospital right now. And we know he made some kind of a statement in or around or after the attack, although the police commissioner, James O'Neill, would not tell us exactly what he said, whether it was a pledge of allegiance to ISIS.
That's right. Go ahead, Senator.
All I can say is that this has all the signature of a terrorist attack. It's a low-tech device, apparently. Most likely is somebody not part of a bigger plot. I don't know. You don't know. What I'm trying to figure out here is a system that will allow us to find as much as possible when you capture one of these guys alive so that we can prevent the next attack and get into the mind of a terrorist. And you can't do that, in my view, by reading them their Miranda rights. I've been a criminal lawyer. I've been a military lawyer for over 30 years. The best model here is to hold them as an enemy combatant, slowly but surely gather intelligence, then make a decision about where to charge them and how to charge them.
So you clearly haven't made up your mind whether this individual should be tried in the U.S. sort of federal court system. But let me ask you this, Senator, because what history does show us is that since 2001, since the 9/11 attacks, more than 600 convictions more than 600 terrorism-related cases have been tried and convicted successfully in the civilian federal court system. And virtually none of those has been reversed. The track record, as you know, for Gitmo, for Guantanamo Bay military court convictions is much, much worse. So does the track record not show us that someone who goes through the judicial process, due process, without being held as an enemy combatant and tried in these U.S. federal courts, it generally works?
Well, you're missing the point of this interview. The point of this interview is not whether to try him in federal court or military commission. I've got no problem trying this guy in federal court. And to be honest with you, my niece could convict him. What I am worried about is gathering intelligence. You cannot gather intelligence under the criminal justice model. No prisoner in every other war has ever been given their Miranda rights because we're fighting a war, not a crime. I want to hold him as long as necessary to find out all we need to know then we'll try him later. I'm worried about gathering intelligence. You read him as Miranda rights, then you get into plea bargaining. You're turning the war into a crime, and we're losing a lot of valuable intelligence this way.
All right, we understand where you stand on this subject, but once again,
Right.
just to let our audience know, we want to make clear, we do not know if he has yet been read his Miranda rights, and there is often a gap of time, and they can use this gap of time to try to figure out if there is an emergency and get as much information as possible. In the last attack in New York City, just to put a button on it again, Senator, the man was not. He waived his Miranda rights, so it didn't even come into play there. While we have you, if we can ask you a political question right now, I'm told there's a big election in Alabama tomorrow. You may have heard of that. Senator Roy Moore, the Republican nominee, obviously accused of molesting a 14-year-old girl. Many Republican senators have said they do not want to see him in the Senate. If he does win, Senator, do you see yourself as being willing to support expelling him from the Senate? If he wins, he will likely be seated because there's no way to stop that.
Right.
But then there will be an ethics committee investigation, and some senators suggested that they will vote to remove him. Will you vote to remove him?
Well, you asked two good questions. Number one, seating him, you can't deny him the seat, but the moment he's seated, he becomes a member of the body. The Senate has its own way of dealing with membership in the body. We have an ethics committee that will look into allegations. Before he's a senator versus the time you're a senator is a bit different, but there'll be an ethics committee investigation, and the ethics committee, in a bipartisan manner, supports the allegation of these women that he, in fact, is a child molester, then my view is that's inconsistent with being a member of the body, but there'll be due process offered, Mr. Moore, if he wins, but there will be an ethics investigation, and each senator will have to determine the qualifications for the body itself. I'll have a hard time, quite frankly, keeping somebody in the body that I think molested a child, but we'll see what happens.
We will see what happens. Polls open in less than 24 hours. And Senator Lindsey Graham, just one follow-up to that before you go. If indeed Roy Moore wins, and as you said, if he does, he will be seated. And if he is not expelled and serves in the Senate as a Republican colleague, what do you believe that does to your party, especially heading into the 2018 midterms?
Well, if you're running in 2018 as a Republican, Roy Moore becomes your best friend. You'll be asked about 10,000 times, what do you think about Roy Moore? Roy Moore will be the gift that keeps on giving for Democrats. It will define the 2018 election, at least 2018. And to think you can elect Roy Moore without getting the baggage of Roy Moore is pretty naive. I wish he would have stepped aside. They're going to have the election tomorrow. We'll see what the people of Alabama say. But the Senate will also speak. There's a process within the Senate to regulate membership of the body. From a political point of view, there is no winning with Roy Moore, in my view.
Senator Lindsey Graham, we appreciate you taking the time very much this morning. Thank you.
And we need his niece's number if we need a good